The email arrives at 3:17 p.m. It's not a phone call. It's never a phone call anymore. There's no human voice to soften the blow, no apologetic tone, no offer of explanation. There is only the cold, sterile finality of pixels on a screen. "Thank you for your interest," it begins, the universal preamble to rejection. After careful consideration. But what was considered? Your resume, polished to a perfect shine? The heartfelt cover letter you spent 3 hours writing? The years of experience, the late nights, the sacrifices? You sit there, staring at the screen, the cursor blinking rhythmically, a tiny, mocking heartbeat. You're qualified. You know you are. You ticked every box, met every requirement. Yet the answer is no. And the most terrifying part, the part that settles like ice in your gut, is that you will never, ever know why. What if the decision wasn't made by a person at all? What if the careful consideration was the work of a fraction of a second, a silent, lightning-fast calculation performed by a ghost in the machine? A ghost that sifted through your entire digital life, judging you on criteria you don't know exist, weighing you against a standard you'll never be shown. This isn't science fiction. This is the world we live in now. We are all standing before invisible judges, applying for our lives, for our futures, for our very survival. And these judges are black boxes. They decide who gets the loan to start a business, who gets the apartment in a safe neighborhood, who gets the job that could change their family's life. They are the silent arbiters of modern society. 50, 100, 1,000 opaque algorithms making life and death decisions about you right now. And the question we must ask ourselves is not just how they decide, but what happens when they are wrong. The dream was a simple one. An apartment with a second bedroom, a room for the baby on the way, a space to paint yellow, to hang a mobile over a crib. For Maria and David, it was the culmination of years of saving, of careful planning. They found the perfect place-good school district, a park down the street. Their credit was solid, their income stable. They filled out the online application, a seemingly endless series of forms and digital signatures. They uploaded their pay stubs, their bank statements, their entire financial lives condensed into a handful of PDFs. They clicked submit and felt a surge of hope. The denial came 24 hours later. An automated email, blunt and brief. Application denied. No reason given, just a link to a generic FAQ page. They called the leasing office. The agent was polite but unhelpful. "I'm sorry," she said, her voice distant. "The decision is made by our third-party screening software. We just get a pass or fail. We don't see the details." A third-party software, an invisible gatekeeper. They were locked out of their dream, not by a person, but by a score. A single, mysterious number, generated by an algorithm they couldn't see, based on data they couldn't access, using logic they couldn't question. They were left with a gnawing uncertainty. Was it a typo on the application? A forgotten medical bill from years ago? Or was it something else? Was it because their names sounded Hispanic? Was it because the software flagged the zip code of their current, less affluent neighborhood? They would never know. They were simply, algorithmically undesirable. This is the reality of the black box. In the world of technology, a black box is a system where the inputs and outputs are visible, but the internal workings, the process itself, is completely opaque. You put data in one end, a decision comes out the other. The why is locked inside. We built these systems for a reason, of course. We built them for efficiency. A human hiring manager might take weeks to sift through 1,000 resumes. An AI can do it in seconds. A loan officer might be swayed by a bad mood or an unconscious bias. An algorithm, we were told, would be pure objective logic. We outsourced our judgment to silicon and code, believing we were creating a fairer, more rational world. We sought to remove flawed human hands from the scales of justice and opportunity. But we forgot one crucial detail. We forgot who teaches the machine. An algorithm doesn't spring into existence fully formed. It learns, and it learns from the data we feed it. To build an algorithm that predicts who will be a successful employee, you feed it the data of all your past successful employees. To build one that decides who will pay back a loan, You feed it decades of historical lending data. The algorithm is a brilliant student, a pattern-matching machine of unimaginable power. It finds correlations we would never see, subtle signals hidden in mountains of information. But in its quest to learn from our history, it also learns our sins. It learns our prejudices, our biases, our historic injustices. It doesn't learn the world as we want it to be. It learns the world as it is and as it has been. Imagine a company that for 50 years predominantly hired men for its engineering roles. Now they want to use an AI to screen resumes for new engineers. They feed the AI the resumes of their last 50 years of successful hires. The algorithm diligently analyzes the data. It learns that successful candidates often played on a varsity sports team, that they used words like execute and drive. It also learns a much simpler, more powerful correlation. Successful candidates were almost all named John, or Robert, or James. The algorithm, in its cold, unfeeling logic, doesn't understand sexism. It only understands patterns. It learns that male names are a strong predictor of success at that company. And so, it starts downgrading resumes with female names. The company didn't program it to be sexist, but it taught it with the data of its own biased history. It has wrapped its old human prejudice in a shiny new cloak of artificial intelligence and called it objective. It has created a black box that doesn't eliminate bias, but automates it, scales it, and hides it behind a veil of technological complexity. This is not a hypothetical. In 2018, it was revealed that Amazon had been working on a secret AI recruiting tool. The project was abandoned when they discovered a massive problem. It was discriminating against women. The system had taught itself that male candidates were preferable because it was trained on a decade of the company's own resume data, which was heavily skewed towards men. It even penalized resumes that included the word women's, as in women's chess club captain. Amazon, one of the most technologically advanced companies on the planet, could not build the bias out of its own machine. And this single, flawed judgment in the hiring process is just one thread in a vast, invisible web. Think about the path to even applying for that job. Your life is a cascade of algorithmic gateways. Your access to education might have been shaped by software that sorts students into gifted or remedial tracks. The news you see, which shapes your worldview and awareness of opportunities, is curated by algorithms on social media, designed not to inform you, but to keep you clicking. To even get to the job interview, you might need a car loan. You apply. The loan decision isn't made by a friendly banker in your town anymore. It's made by a FICO score, a VantageScore black boxes that analyze hundreds of data points. They see your payment history, yes, but they might also see how many credit cards you have, how much you use, even your zip code. For decades, the practice of redlining saw banks draw literal red lines on maps around minority neighborhoods, deeming them too risky for investment. That practice is now illegal. But what if an algorithm learns that people from certain zip codes, the very same zip codes that were once redlined, are historically more likely to default? The algorithm isn't looking at race, it's looking at data. But the data is a ghost of a racist past. The result is the same, a digital redline, just as powerful and just as discriminatory, but infinitely harder to prove. Let's say you get the loan. You get the job. Now you need a place to live. You're back in the world of Maria and David, facing the tenant screening algorithm. These systems create a single tenant score for you. They pull your credit report, your criminal history, your eviction records. One mistake, one late payment from years ago, one eviction filed against you, even if you won the case, can follow you forever. A black mark in a database that landlords blindly trust. There's no room for context, no opportunity to explain that you were late on rent because you were in the hospital, or that the eviction was a retaliatory move by a bad landlord. To the algorithm, you are not a person with a story. You are a risk score. Fail, and you're locked out of safe, affordable housing. Pass, and you're in. It's a binary decision that shapes the very foundation of your life. This is the domino effect of the 50 black boxes. It's a cascading system of judgment. A low score from one algorithm can trigger a negative outcome from another, creating a downward spiral that is nearly impossible to escape. Your car insurance premium is set by an algorithm that analyzes your driving habits, your credit score, and even your level of education, finding correlations that associate higher education with lower risk. Your health insurance might use an algorithm to predict your future medical costs, flagging you as high risk and high cost based on your past prescriptions or your neighborhood's average health statistics. Step by step, door by door, your life path is being narrowed and directed by forces you cannot see. Each no is a wall. Each denied is a closed gate. And soon you find yourself on a path you didn't choose, wondering how you ended up there. Perhaps the most chilling application of these black boxes is in the one place we expect to find human reason and mercy, the criminal justice system. Across the United States, judges are using algorithmic risk assessment tools to help make decisions about bail, sentencing, and parole. One of the most famous and controversial of these is a system called COMPAS. It asks a defendant a series of questions and combines the answers with their criminal history to generate a score from 1 to 10, predicting their likelihood of reoffending. A high score suggests a high risk. It sounds objective, doesn't it? A data-driven way to make our justice system fairer. In 2016, the investigative journalism outlet ProPublica decided to open the box. They conducted a groundbreaking analysis of the COMPAS scores for more than 7,000 people arrested in Broward County, Florida. What they found was shocking. The algorithm was no better at predicting violent crime than a random coin toss. Worse, it was riddled with racial bias. The formula was twice as likely to falsely flag black defendants as future criminals than white defendants. And white defendants were more likely to be mislabeled as low risk than black defendants. A black woman named Bresha Borden, who had a record of misdemeanors, was rated a high risk to reoffend. A white man named Vernon Prater, who had already served 5 years for armed robbery, was rated a low risk. 2 years later, Borden had not reoffended. Prater was serving an 8-year prison sentence for a new grand theft. The algorithm got it completely backward. The company that created COMPAS, Northpoint, disputed the findings, arguing their software was not biased because it didn't use race as a factor. And this is the insidious genius of the black box. It doesn't have to see race to be racist. It sees proxies for race. It sees poverty. It sees zip codes with higher police presence. It sees a history of arrests that reflects generations of biased policing. It sees the symptoms of systemic inequality and mistakes them for a predisposition to crime. The judge who looks at that high COMPAS score doesn't see this complex, biased history. They see a number printed on a sheet of paper, cloaked in the authority of data and science. They see a prediction that feels objective. And so a person might be denied bail, or given a longer sentence based on a flawed, biased, secret calculation. How do you appeal a number? How do you cross-examine an algorithm? We are living in an age of digital phrenology. Just as 19th century quacks claimed they could determine a person's character from the bumps on their skull, we now believe we can determine a person's worthiness from the patterns in their data. We have soothed ourselves with the myth of algorithmic objectivity. We tell ourselves that code is neutral, that math cannot be biased. But this is a dangerous illusion. Every algorithm is a product of human choices. The choice of what data to use, the choice of what variables to consider, the choice of how to define success or risk. These are not neutral mathematical decisions. They are deeply ethical, political, and social decisions, loaded with the values and biases of the people who make them. We haven't eliminated human bias. We have simply laundered it through technology, making it faster, more scalable, and much, much harder to see. The question then becomes, can we fight back? Can we shine a light into these black boxes? The answer is a tentative, difficult yes. Around the world, a new generation of digital activists, ethical data scientists, and civil rights lawyers are beginning to challenge the tyranny of the algorithm. They are demanding transparency, the right to know how decisions are being made about them. They are calling for algorithmic auditing, a process where independent experts can examine these systems for bias and accuracy. In Europe, the General Data Protection Regulation, or GDPR, has taken a major step, giving citizens the right to an explanation for automated decisions. It's a start, a recognition that you cannot be judged by a secret process. There are computer scientists working on explainable AI, trying to design systems that don't just give an answer but can show their work, revealing the logic behind their conclusions. There are lawyers bringing lawsuits, arguing that these biased algorithms are simply a new form of illegal discrimination. And there are ordinary people, like Maria and David, who, instead of just accepting the no, are starting to ask why. They are demanding to see their data, to challenge their scores, to hold the creators of these systems accountable. This is not a fight against technology itself. It's a fight for human values within our technology. It's a fight to ensure that efficiency never comes at the cost of fairness, that progress doesn't trample on justice. It's a demand that we, the people whose lives are being shaped by these systems, have a seat at the table where they are designed and deployed. We are at a crossroads. We can continue down the path of blind faith in our technological creations, building a world of silent, unaccountable judgment, a society of algorithmic castes where your future is determined at birth by the data you inherit, a world where human potential is constrained by the predictions of a machine that can only see the past. Or we can choose a different path. We can choose to be the masters of our tools, not their subjects. We can demand that the systems that govern our lives be transparent, be accountable, and be just. We can insist that behind every automated decision, there must be a path to human review, human context, and human compassion. Think back to that email, that cold digital rejection, the feeling of powerlessness, of being judged by a phantom. Now you understand. It wasn't random, it wasn't a fluke. It was the output of a system, a complex web of historical data and hidden rules that saw your name, your zip code, your online footprint, and calculated a risk. It saw a ghost of someone else's past and mistook it for your future. The black boxes are all around us, and their number is growing every day. They are the invisible architecture of our modern world, the silent gatekeepers of opportunity. And they are not objective. They are mirrors reflecting the very best and the very worst of us. The next time you click Submit, the next time you hand over your data and ask for a chance, remember who and what is on the other side. And ask yourself, what forgotten history is it using to judge me? These are not just technical problems for engineers to solve. They are fundamental questions about the kind of society we want to build. If these stories, these invisible struggles, matter to you, subscribe for more deep dives into the forces that shape our world. The conversation about this is only just beginning, and your voice is needed. Share your own experiences with these black boxes in the comments below, because the first step to opening the box is for all of us to realize we are trapped inside it together.